So here we have my first print with NinjaFlex. I haven't tried any NinjaFlex yet. I've had the roll. So this is the first try with it. It's well, it's a circle, isn't it? In fact, it actually is just a circle. Well, you know what? Hang on. I forgot something. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. So this is NinjaFlex. The thing that it's printing there is 3 millimeters wide. That's how thick it is. It's going to be 7 millimeters tall, and it's really just solid flex, or NinjaFlex. Let's go to the preview, and you can see that every layer is just a solid rings of print. I could probably have done this in spiral days, but I never thought of doing that. Oops. Anyways, you can see that. That's every layer. So there are a total of 35 layers. Estimated print time is 1 hour 15 minutes, but I think it's actually going to take quite a bit longer than that. It didn't estimate its time very well. It's already been a lot longer than 20 minutes. Actually, no, it hasn't. Maybe half an hour. But whatever. I'm using Repetier host. The settings that I'm using to print with are... Well, let's just have a look. Sorry, it takes a minute. The laptop is not fast. Okay, so filament settings is 1.7. When I measured it, and I measured more than just 5, I measured quite a bit. It was varying between 1.68 and 1.71. But I figured with the squishy factor, once you actually get it into compression after the extruder down the bowling tube, it'll probably thicken up a little bit. So anyways, I went with 1.7. I started out at 215, but after letting it go for the first 5 layers or 4 layers, it really wasn't looking so great. It looked a little goopy and whatnot, so I turned it down to 210, which is what the actual settings used. I copied the settings from the CNC matter control filament presets that you can download from their website anyways. And then I put them back in the Repetier host. My print settings, speed-wise, everything's at 12. And then the first layer was, yeah, the same. Extrusion widths are 0.45, first layer 0.5, everything else 0.45. I don't know why I actually use them, but whatever. Infill was just 20%, didn't matter. I set it for 4 perimeters, or 4 solid layers, 3 perimeters. So that just gave it a solid wheel. So what is this thing anyways? Is it just a rubber band? No, actually, it's going to be a tire for this wheel that I made earlier this morning out of green filament, PLA. I had a lot of fuzzy strings going on there. I mean, a lot. So you can see it turned out a little bit rough. I could do some more sanding and whatnot, or filing and just knock some more down. I also used my lighter. That seems to help a lot. So I think it might have been a little too hot when I printed that, but nonetheless, I'm not going to complain. It came out really well. You can see there's a bit of an indent in there. I tried to get a little bit of contour, focus. There. So this is the wheel, and that'll be the tire that goes on it. Let's just have a quick look here. I'm just using the pinion gear just as a spacer. This will be about the same hub size actually as, well, the next bit I have to build. Just get that on there somehow. There. So yeah, very low friction there, and that's why I did it that way. You can see that there's just a small little hub in the center, a depression, and another hub. So this is just wide enough to stay on the inside, on the inside of this outside. So really, all the pressure is just on that tiny little bit, and it's so slippery with this plastic, so it just gets very little friction on the spin. And then the inside was just reamed out with a perfect little file that I have that's kind of the exact same size as that, and it just makes the most perfect holes. Alright, get down there. How are we doing with the print? Okay, we got a little bit of string there, so I don't know, I think it's doing a random, so the seam isn't always on the same place on every layer, which I don't think would be good for this. So it's sort of just every layer it moves and it goes somewhere else, and just that way it's not always doing the same thing. So I don't know if you can really see that, how the print's coming out. It's black after all. I don't really do good videos. So hot and slow. Now I've got most of my temperature issues that I was having figured out now. So target is tapping. It's just basically hovering right around the 208. Doesn't really ever get to the 210, but at least it's not like 198 anymore. It took a while to get that futzing around, and ultimately I ended up going into the firmware EEPROM settings and reducing the max fan speed of the layer peak fan, because it was just so effective that it wasn't letting the peak, it wasn't letting anything heat up past about 212. And as soon as it started printing, when it was down low like that, there was so much air cooling it off. It just, yeah, it would, you know, I was always 10 to 15 degrees. There was just not much cooling. So I had to turn the fan down a bit. I basically just turned the peak fan down 25%, reran the auto tune again for the umpteenth time, and actually I ended up with really good results. So that's when I printed this. I had the best temperature consistency of any print I've had in the last couple of days. Now that everything's been rebuilt and done, you can finally see. I don't know if you look at my past videos up until this one, that peak fan shroud was purple. This is what was in there. So look at that. And the last fan that was in there, I just don't ever remember being it as loud as this one. And what I mean by loud is the wind sound. I can tell that this thing was being very effective. And it was just pushing a hell of a lot more air than this one was. And I actually had changed the fans around, and I put the new fan in here, even though I saw it was black. And I know the problem wasn't with this rubbing or anything, because this fan runs just perfect in here, but I wanted to have a nice silver one now finally to get it all to match properly. So yeah. So the original fan that was in there just doesn't turn in very well. Even though I never heard any vibratory sounds or bad sounds or anything like that. I don't know what it is. But anyways. So anyways, back to NinjaFlex. I'll come back when it's at the end of the print. This says 49 minutes. I suspect it's more. We're on layer 12 of 35, so a third of the way through. Anyways, you can start to see it building there. I guess it looks pretty good. It's just a little bit of string there, so it's not too hot that it's creating a lot of string, and it's, I think, at a really good temperature. That's the bouncing around 208. Alright, NinjaFlex. It's on to layer 28 of 35. Alright, we'll be back in a bit. It's now printing layer 34 of 35, and it looks like it's doing very well. Alright, let's review all of the settings and see what's going on here. So I've been using 210 degrees for my extruder, and it's actually been hovering right around 209. That's where it's been really setting, and it's been fairly constant, so that's good. Okay, so let's go have a look at the slicer settings now. This is with the slicer. Okay, so starting with the actual filament. So 1.7, it's worked out very well. So this thing was 215, but as you can see, I have a magnifying glass here. I was watching those first layers, those first 5 layers, and it just looks too hot. It just didn't look right. It was looking goopy and weird and whatnot. And the matter control files I copied these from actually said 210. So I turned it down to 210, so the whole thing's been printing at 210. So you want to leave this at 210. Bad height one is 60. So cooling though. Now, I'm using this new layer fan for the Rostock. And it is in fact very efficient. It really is. In fact, it's very, very efficient. It's a very good fan setup, and I really like it. I'm quite happy with it. I should have been using it before. So for cooling, I've actually turned it down. Maximum fan speed is only 50%, because I don't want to cool this rubberized stuff down too much. I want that next layer to really get a good bite on there. So minimum fan speed was 20. I'm not doing any bridging, so that's not a big deal. And that, I think, has made a really big difference, because that fan was, even on PLA, I've actually got to turn down just for regular PLA, just because it really is a very good fan. And it really affected the auto-tune PID settings, actually. So I actually tuned with it on, and now I've got much better settings. That's one of the things I did. Okay, slicer settings. Let's have a look at the printer settings. Retract settings was 3mm. Z-lift is a full millimeter. Speed 125. So you can see that there. General settings is my bed size, nothing special there. Okay, so print settings. Layers was 0.2 layer height. So the nozzle that I'm using is 0.5mm. Oh, it's done. Right. And that's I love Repetier Host because it beeps at me. Plays this song. Okay, print settings. So 0.2, first layer 0.25, just to get that, you know, a little bit of extra stickiness down there. And it looks like it did well. I used the purple disappearing glue, this stuff. Once the bed cools off, that glue just solidifies and loses all its stickiness. And you know, it's great when I do it at PLA, like when I did the wheel here, and just working away. And as the bed's cooling, it sounds like the glass is cracking, because it's just the glue letting go, and everything is cooling down and contracting that little bit, and it's breaking free on its own, and I just love that sound. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting away from the settings. I'm just happy that it looks like it was a very successful print. Perimeters 3, yeah. So that turned out to give me a nice solid ring and circles. So you can use those however you feel best that it's going to affect your stretchiness. So same with your fill pattern. You really got to think about how that's going to affect your stretchiness and compressiveness. So your choices are there. Speed, though, that was the important factors. So 12 everywhere, 12 millimeters per second, that's what it was. And yeah, so slow. There was a MakerBot, or sorry, a Make Magazine article here last week, Friday's Filament Friday, and basically they were emphasizing that when you're printing with the flexible materials is to go slow and hot, and that works out well, obviously. Okay. If we go to the Advanced tab, we can just see the default extrusions. Skirt and brim, you know, I really like to make sure that it does a lot in the skirt. I really want to make sure, it doesn't matter what filament I'm using, I always like to make a big long 4-loop skirt. I turned it down here just though, but normally I go a little more, and I really want to have, you know, everything flowing well and doing whatnot before it actually gets into the first layer. So, but that worked well. Of course, there was no support materials, no notes, no output. So those are all the settings I used for my Rostock Max. Let's have a look at what we did. So we got some stringiness coming down. We have a little bit of schmutz on there. Okay, actually, you know what? Before I get too much, that's right. Okay, I'm going to actually manually reheat my thing back up to 210. Almost forgot about this because I got distracted with this video. Okay, so I'm popping that back up to 210. I don't want to wait too long for this. Just gently pull this down. Don't overtax anything. Okay, I'm going to pull out the NinjaFlex. I don't actually want it sitting in there. It didn't get too cold. I got down to 100 though, but I was making this video, so it's your fault. But yeah, I want to pull that out before I actually do anything now. I don't want it sitting in there with the compression on that one spot and the heat sort of leaking in and bad things. So I'll be back in a mo. I'll just show you the setup I've got up here. Interesting thing, I don't know if it'll actually show up in the video. You can see the silhouette in there. It looks like there's a funnel. You can kind of probably see it right there. Well, it is a funnel. It's a single layer or single perimeter print all the way up. No other, just one layer. Funnel. I found it on, I think it was RepRap maybe, Repables. And then there's the roll of NinjaFlex. Focus, please, at some point in time. Thank you. Okay. Alright, back in a moment. Okay, so I just pulled it out. Let's have a look at the end of it. I don't know, can you see? So, there's no big bulb or anything on the end. It's got just a little bit of string hanging down. So, yeah, I guess it came out alright. So, let's see, where is... I'm just going to drag my fingers down it. Hang on. Okay. That's good. So, I don't feel any obvious bump on where I was sitting in the, oh, maybe right there, where I was sitting in the extruder stepper motor. It's because I like to try and take it out now right away. I don't like letting it sit in there, because every time I've actually had a print stop and I haven't just pulled this out, you know, if it sits and cools, it ends up with a flat spot on the filament, and it just kind of makes everything all makes me unhappy. Okay, so we are down to a, oh, let's turn the extruder off. Actually, you know what? Hang on. Just going to push this back up a little bit. Gently, gently, okay. So that's what just came off. That streak right there. Try it again. No, it's clean. So that's goopiness from the initial feed. I pushed it in and tried to get it extruded, and it kind of blooped and whatnot. Pushed out the previous color. Then I pulled it all back out and let it sit for a moment while it was just hot, and then put it back in again. I chunked off the end and then started with a nice fresh cut and refed it, and once it got there, I just started very slowly and until it started looking like it was a good string, and then when I stopped and waited, and it did it looked like PLA. You know what I'm talking about, right? You know how these have their gloop factor. Okay, 47 degrees. I'm going to wait until it's down to below 30. I want to hit room temperature because I'm in no hurry. I haven't even touched it yet, have I? Alright. Ooh, it feels like silicone. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Cool. See about the wheel? Okay, so yeah, it's going to be a nice stretch to get it onto the wheel. Good, good. And while we're here, one thing I just want to show you. So if you've seen my Easy Bake Gear video, you'll have seen these. And now I've got that, and I've got this as just a free spinning wheel. But I'm basically using those 3mm steel shafts, and now these. Look at that, it's a beautiful hex nut with a 3mm insert, or a bore hole, and a perfect little set screw in the brass. So yeah. These are really great for screwing on and capturing onto those 3mm shafts. And because I can now print what I want, you can imagine that there'll be a hub coming off of a gear or a wheel, and the hub will have a hex cutout down the middle of it, and then there'll be a side hole for getting the screwdriver in to tighten up it, and yeah, it'll just be invisible connections. Yeah, it's going to be gorgeous. I just hope I can still find these because I'm down to 2. Alright, so we'll be back once this has hit 30 degrees. Oh, I've got to turn my off. There we go. So now that's just cool down. You can hear the fan going. I probably can't see anything what's going on there, but whatever. It's definitely pushing a lot more air than that first fan I was using. It really is. Listen to it. Yeah. Okay. So, bed temperature has fallen below 30. 29.20. Took a while. Took a long while. But we're there. Alright. Okay, that's stuck down, right? Okay, well, let's get the spatula to work. You can see it is, in fact, flexible. So, this spatula, you know, these are, if you can find one like this, it's actually very good. This one came with the Rostock kit, which is a nice little unlisted bonus. It's branded by them, and it is, in fact, a very good one because it is very thin and flexible, and very thin and flexible. So it's a very good one to use. Just kind of cutting my way in there, aren't I? Voila! Wow, that was really stuck down. So the glue maybe is overkill. But, maybe not. So there it is. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's ridiculously awesome. Oh, so that's NinjaFlex right there. Oh, wow. Oops. Wow, that's exactly how I was hoping it would fit. So now, oh yeah, and see, that does have good traction too. I was right. Oh yeah, that really does. It's got good traction. I'm squeezing it. It's, oh, see? That's got good traction. I'm happy. If I use this finger, I can get it to break, of course. But yeah, oh, very pleased. So, a few drops of CA glue. We just pry. I got some dental picks. I'll just pry this out just a bit. Drop a little bit of CA glue in 3 or 4 spots around the outside, and yeah, that'll just hold it really centered and well. And that'll be a nice tire on a really great wheel. I just thought of something. Okay. Anyways, thank you for watching my NinjaFlex video. That was very exciting, and my results are absolutely awesome. They really are. I'm very happy. Ridiculously happy, in fact. Okay. Bye-bye now.